a succinct way to answer, let's say, those who assert atheism. First of all, atheism doesn't exist. The theism is the object that is negated by the letter A, the alpha privative. It's a negative particle. So in function, it's a negative function. So when I say it doesn't exist, that is, there is no such thing as atheism in the sense that any body of material, any substance is there. For example, the Bible, from the Bible, the book, the Bible, we have the Western world as we know it came into existence when Tyndale translated it into English. So the English Bible and the Western world, of course, from the English Bible and all that we know about the Bible, the Hebrew text, the Greek text, and now our English Bible, we had calculus, and of course chemistry, and then of course physics. These fields of science all are products of theology. From these fields we have what we know today as pharmacology, pharmacy, well, just pharmacy. And so there's our medicine and our technology. So where atheism comes in, I don't know. It has no book. It has no field of science. It has no pharmacology nor technology. So other than it just being an empty assertion, you'll never see atheist and then an atheologian or an atheology. There's no content at all. Even people who, in their emotive state of irrational negation of reality, will just, emote and say horrible things about people. It's okay though. They have no book, they have no Western civilization, they have no field of science, and they have no products of the fields of science. So as long as their negation is irrelevant, which is proven by the prevalence of these things, it's similar when someone questions the Lord's New Testament church. It has no effect negatively in achieving an outcome that would negate the Lord's church. The Bible says the Lord's church will prevail, the gates of Hades. That's all the conspirators, conspiracies, all the clumsy constructs written to somehow call to question what the Creator, the true and living God, Jesus Christ, said about His church. Furthermore, when you're dealing with someone atheist, you don't need more than a third grade level of arithmetic. And of course, they're not prepared for it. They're not prepared. They'll question and say the earth isn't young, and they'll talk as though time's linear. But you have to be patient with your atheist. He's not always well informed. Even those who have credential have not actually thought about what they're saying, because it's so easy for them to come across someone who's just emotional and irrational and claiming to be a Christian sometimes, so often, regrettably, that you might not calm yourself enough to know that from the beginning of the universe, let's just say, we know in the Bible that there was an interval here before Satan sinned. So we really don't know how long this was, because there was no long there. Time didn't exist because there was no decay rate. So when the original earth was created and the heavens were created, and the Godhead created, we had Satan and we had God and angels in a perfect situation. So what does this have to do with atheists? Well, they ridicule all that, and they say young earth is foolish or silly, which is not really their fault, because here at this point, when he sinned, we have what we would call here in verse 2 of Genesis. You can tell your atheist friend that'd be where a good place for the Big Bang, where God judged and it became without form and void here. So by the time we get to this point here where we start the repair of the earth, you're looking at just taking the arithmetic in the Bible, the numbers in the Bible, 1,000 years as a day. You can see how 4.5 billion years would transpire here. That is time. That's a fast rate, 4.5 billion years. 4.5 billion years could have transpired in only 12,500 years. That's at 1,000 years per day. So that would be the hyperinflation rate that science speaks of, and they speak of the universe, all matter was once very small and compressed, but the Bible doesn't say that. It says the first earth we had God and the angels. God judged Satan when he sinned. This interval here now, so we have a second interval with a ratio from the Bible. Again, you're just using third grade arithmetic. Again, they're not prepared for you to have a cosmogony designed and constructed from the Bible. And then, of course, here's the repaired earth with 6 literal day, 6-day, 24-hour days. All that's perfectly in order. That's done in time. The creation was instant. No time consumed, no energy expended in Genesis 1:1 creation. But again, your atheist is not interested at this moment. You've lost them. Bill Nye, the science guy, they call him, he's not a science guy. He's already out of the conversation because he won't be prepared for someone to know the numbers in the Bible and find them useful if you're constructing a cosmogony from the Bible. And he won't notice that from the time the earth repaired, then you have Adam, and where we're at today is this history of man that's ongoing, and we know has been thousands of years. How much more than 6,000, we don't know exactly. But between the time that age as we know it on the repaired earth, that is, it was literally pieced together from this great hyperinflation, this explosion, which was actually the ending. Now, they'll laugh and ridicule because what they say they fabricate, construct from conjecture also. It's just that this is just using information from the Bible. If you actually want a construct that's a cosmogony, an origin of the cosmos, and you want to just use Bible information, remember, it's our Bible that was translated into English that brought about our Western world. It's our Bible from which calculus, chemistry, physics were all fields of science produced, and from which pharmacology and technology are derived. So again, the atheist has no book, no influence on the Western world, and no field of science and no products of it. Their cosmogony is skewed, it's arbitrary, it's random. They can't explain why there's parts of the earth that are different ages. We can. God repaired the earth, the first earth, when it fragmented here, it came to be without form. They're not prepared. Atheists are unprepared for you to know the implication of removing the form of something whereby it now becomes unintelligible. It then becomes empty of its original form. The atheist is unaware of the Bible because they rejected Hebrews 11:3, where it says he prepared the earth. We have a regenerated earth here, the kingdom on earth, the regenerated earth. But what you notice is before we come to the 1,000-year reign, this entire time span here, from here to here, there's no time here because there's no decay rate. We only have 12,500 here in which 4.5 billion years could transpire. We only have thousands here, which some approximate somewhere between 6 and 10,000 years here, a large range here, and some, like I would estimate, approximately 6,250, whatever, based on the ratio here of just using these numbers. Again, your atheist isn't ready, so you can't really tame your atheist. He's not yours to tame. We are advocates of the freedom of conscience, thought, and speech, especially as Baptists, instrumental in being used by God to establish our separation of church and state, a wall of separation of which religions cannot scale it to commandeer our government. We advocate, we do not support tolerance or intolerance, rather freedom. We do not provide ourselves as free citizens to be objects of someone else's toleration. We're not to be indulged. We don't tolerate atheists. We don't intolerate atheists. All that's barbaric. Freedom is in a civil society, rule of law, inalienable rights, bills of rights, Declaration of Independence, Constitution. We have a legislative branch. We have a judicial form, or executive, legislative, and then judicial, which is technically not a branch of the government, but it's there to provide legal counsel to our legislators and allow legislators who pass our laws to have accurate information and assure that all things are constitutional. However, back to our atheists, I don't really know what they have to say. They don't know how, they don't know where they're from. They don't know why they're here. They don't know where they're going afterwards. They have no answer for life before earth. They have no answer for life here today. They have no answer for life afterwards. They have no book. So my atheists who troll me will try to say something about the Bible in a diminutive way, and yet they have no book. From our Bible, just translated by William Tyndale into English, brought about the Western world. Newton and Leibniz are theologians. Our science works. These are fields of branches of theology, pharmacy, medicine, and technology. We have a timeline here that from here all the way here doesn't even cover 20,000 normal years. So I wouldn't want to debate Bill Nye, because he would then have to find something else to do, because once you demonstrate the lack of credential, the lack of credibility, the breakdown in their reasoning, they would have nothing left. So a lot of the atheists today just simply assert it. They have no rationale for opposing the Western world, for opposing physics, calculus, and chemistry, for opposing pharmacology and technology. They have no rational basis for negating, but for the fact they're driven in function to negate. So it's not that they don't believe God exists, because they do. The Bible says they know God exists. It says they even know the nature of the invisible God, the truths of God not being a quadruped, being a man or a bird or a wooden thing. They know that. That's clearly revealed through creation. So the Creator, Christ Jesus, is revealed in creation, so that no one has an excuse to reject those knowable things and to reflect and project God as a thing, a creeping thing, a man or wooden thing, or even a bird. So they're without excuse. So atheists know God exists. It's just the function to negate him is that which they themselves are enslaved according to that. And again, they have really nothing to say. We have a cosmogony. Even the argument about the age of the earth, they're wrong on that, because they have to speak of time as though it's linear. And any Christian with a little bit of interest in third grade arithmetic can demonstrate time is not linear. Notice the root word of linear there is line. Time is not linear. We do have a place in the Bible where the devastation and destruction took place. They say the Big Bang's the beginning. We know it's the ending. We know that when God removed the original form from the earth in judgment of Satan and the created cosmos there, that it was the ending. So we have a great rationale. I really don't know why atheists are so emotional. The famous Richard Dawkins was so decomposed in a tirade against the God that doesn't exist that his friend Christopher Hitchens had to tell him to be careful. Your anger toward the non-existent God is showing, meaning you seem to be very much in a negative relationship with the God that doesn't exist, which is quite humorous to think about it, because without theism to negate, atheism has nothing. There is no such thing as atheism in the sense of material or something substantive. They have no field of science. Evolution isn't even a field of science. It's just an empty assertion based on someone's observation that cannot be made. So if you ever ask someone, why can't we observe evolution? And well, they said, well, it took too long. So they keep using length. They keep speaking of linear terms, and that's not what the Bible teaches. So I don't know how much more simply this could be, and yet it's so profound that they really wouldn't know when Christ returns bodily to set up his earthly kingdom and to reign on the earth bodily. He's reigning on the earth now spiritually through his churches. And we have 6 literal days in Genesis where the repair took, in that framing of the earth, if you will. And we have a place between Genesis 1:1 and verse 2. So I wouldn't even know how to argue with someone about young or old earth when the Bible teaches both. And I wouldn't know what to say to an atheist who has nothing to say. So I'll allow the atheist to make his case, which he has not. They have no case. They have no content. They have no field of study. Physics doesn't belong to them. Calculus doesn't belong to them. Chemistry doesn't belong to them. Pharmacology doesn't belong to them. And our technology certainly doesn't belong to them. So whatever it is that makes them so vitriol, I mean, they're just teeming. They're just in turmoil between their own ears. So as a Christian pastor, especially, I'd recommend don't take it personally from them. View it the way all professions. A fireman approaches a fire. He's not there to confront the arsonist. A medical professional treats the consequence. They're not there to confront a person for how the accident occurred in which they were injured. They just simply give them medical treatment. Police officers step in and bring peace to an occasion that might be a disturbance, even a domestic disturbance. They're there to bring it back to peace and under the rule of law. Then they sort it out. So police officers don't take it personally. Military goes in, executes their mission. They come back. They follow the procedure, the process of executing that mission under the purview of the plans for that. So there's really nothing new about the profession of proclaiming Christ, being an evangelist, being a pastor, a Bible teacher. What comes with it is no different than any other profession. Teachers don't take it personally because the student doesn't have support at home. The teacher tries to come up with compensatory and ways of augmenting that which is missing from home. Like I tutor for kids and help find ways to augment their learning experiences. So atheists really, if they ever had a case, I would love to evaluate it. I'd love to hear one say, here's our book, and here's our fields of science, and here's our medicine, and here's our technology, and here's our Western civilization. They don't have any of that. So that's how you can respond. You can take the numbers in the Bible. One day is 1,000 years, 360-day calendar. You can, like I said, it's not third grade. Well, it is third grade arithmetic, and you'll stop the mouths of anyone. There's really no one out there, any scientist that notices you know about this subject more than they. All they can do then is just appeal to something more complex in mathematics. They just can't come up with a better answer. So anyway, this will help you, but this is the way to respond to atheists when they ridicule young earth, when they ridicule the reality of the cosmos from the time it was first created to the time the new earth will come, from the time Satan sinned to the time Adam sinned, all the things that we know. We can speak to it in a very intelligible, rational way that actually is a better answer than their subjective, erroneously constructed argument. So there is no such thing as a science that's against the Bible, because the Bible produced the science. This is taught in schools. This is the real stuff. So when you hear people say they banned the doctrine of creation from school, it means they're ignorant of the fact that physics demonstrates how energy is transformed into matter. For example, an E equals mc squared. That came from our Hebrew Bible. They're ignorant of the chemistry that the theologian developed even in the order, the elements are listed in the order of creation. They're ignorant that Newton and Leibniz are theologians. So remember, your atheist isn't prepared to cope with his own ignorance. That'll be disturbing. So exercise professional demeanor, deportment, restraint, compassion, and love the person when you give a rationale. And the rationale is an expression of love where you use your brain, you use your mind, and you deliberately communicate to appeal to them based upon your answer. So this is good. This is how you can respond to atheists who ridicule creation.